Alright, as you can see, we got the tail all put together. We don't have the control arms done yet. I'm going to be doing that here shortly. What we're going to do is we're going to move on to setting up the prop. As you can see, I still don't have that epoxy. On your prop, you're going to have this plate, a nut, and then you're going to have a nose cone type piece on here. I do not believe that fits on it once you put the prop on. I'm going to open this up here. Got the nice tri-prop. I kind of always like that. They're hard to find though unless you buy them straight from hangar 9. You take out your nose cone here, drop everything. Your nose cone comes with 3 screws. You're going to want to take this black chunk off here. Or no, excuse me. Leave that black chunk on there. Slide on your nose cone piece. Then you're going to slide on your prop. And the prop should fit in between the orange chunks here. So that way, and then you're going to want to put it all the way to the right side a little bit. So that way it's sitting tight against that prop. And then you're going to put on your plate. And you're going to tighten down your nut. Take your wrench, tighten it down good and tight. You always want to get these good and tight because it really sucks being out at the airfield spinning your prop. It's just one thing you do not want to do. I'm going to get this tightened down. Once I get it tightened down, you just feed the screws through the tip of the nose cone here, and they go onto these hubs right here on this, and it should fit on there just like that when she's done. Alright, we just got the prop all done. I misplaced my Allen wrenches, so I didn't get my nose cone on, but it shouldn't be too hard for you. Next, we're going to the wings. Now, you get this rod, and you slide the rod in. It goes as far as it can. Then, you take your wings, and just slide them right together. Now, some people just run the tape that you get from hangar 9 along this and leave it at that. Me personally, I like to mix up some 5-minute epoxy and just lay a nice thick layer of 5-minute epoxy in there, and then when you squeeze it together hard, which they can be kind of tricky, you got to give them a good push together because these holes aren't always drilled the way they should be. And then hold it for your 5 minutes, and it'll be nice and tight. Make sure you have a wet cloth on hand so you can wipe off any excess epoxy if you care about your plane looking nice. And while I'm on your plane looking nice, as you can see from the factory, they do have a lot of wrinkles in them. I'm sure the people making them probably get paid by the plane and not by the hour because, as you can see with the tail section, it's really wrinkly. A lot of the spots on the whole plane body is very wrinkly. So a quick cure for that is if you have a covering iron, obviously, you're probably not watching this video because you probably don't need it if you've covered a plane before. But you can just take any household iron and take like a paper towel and lay it across that and get your iron really good and hot and just massage over the plastic just real nice and quickly. You don't want to sit on there too long, otherwise you can burn your plastic. But that'll take all these wrinkles out of the plane and give it a nice finished brand new look, and you'll be ready to go. Now next, I'm going to go to your control horn. The way your control horns work is like the one on the servo here. The farther out from the servo it is, the more movement it's going to have. So if you want your Alpha to be really pushy in the air and not roll very hard, you can move this into the inner hole here and it won't have a lot of roll. Or you can even put a bigger servo arm on here if you go out and buy one, and have the connecting rod out here on both sides, and that'll give it even more roll. Also with these sticks here, the farther out away from the wing you have it, the more roll you're going to have. The closer to the bottom of the wing you have these threaded pieces, the less roll you're going to have. So we need to take this clip here, slide it in here, and clamp it in place. Sometimes they need a little bit of adjustment. Right now my wing's not all the way together, so it's not going to clip on there so easy. Now on your back pieces here, you can see your arms come right up to it. The farther away from the control surface you hook it, the more movement you're going to have. So you either want it, or no, excuse me, the closer you have it to this wing control surface, it'll make it more movement. And the farther away from the servo you have it, it'll make it more movement. So if you're confident with your flying and you want your plane to be very maneuverable, you put it on the inside on the wing or the rudder or the elevator, and on the outside of the servo, and that's going to give you the maximum amount of movement in your tail section. So, and all these are just the open wide up and stick them through the whole clips. So once you clip them in there, you just slide this rubber down over it, and they're good to go. I'm going to get all mine hooked up, and then we're going to hook up the transmitter and go through and make sure everything's centered out the way it's supposed to be. Alright, I just got all the control arms hooked up and all the way around, or to the control horns. I turned on the plane, I checked everything. But we're going to do it again for you guys. I'm going to hook up the ailerons here. Set the wing on. You always want to make sure your wires are tucked down in the plane good too. You don't want any of them sticking out. Set it on there. We're going to throw on 2 rubber bands. Just give you an idea of what it's like. It's a lot easier when you already got your rubber band or your posts epoxied in, which I do not, because I'm just quick rushing through all this for the video. I'm going to do the actual install of everything later. And there you see your completed Alpha 40 with no nose cone, of course, because I don't have that done yet either. But I turned on my controller. They are binded straight from the factory, which is nice. So once I turned on the controller and then the plane, waited a few seconds. As you can see, everything's working straight out of the box. A few little tips. It should have been set up from factory with everything perfect, but you might have to go through and trim out on your controller, which is gonna trim out your control surfaces so they're right where you want them. And you should also always check your throttle hole here to make sure that you can kill your airplane with your trim on your throttle, because that way it just makes it a lot easier than trying to get in close to your motor to cut off the gas or pull the gas line to shut it off. And other than that, you have yourself a great plane to take out flying. I hope you guys have fun with it. The new Spectrum technology, it's with all servos installed. As you saw, I did probably the complete build in maybe 10 to 15 minutes. For YouTube's consent, it'll probably be more like 7. But a few of the things I'm not a huge fan of. The fact that it has an Evolution motor. I've had a couple of buddies that haven't had the best luck with Evolution, but it's not a bad motor. The one that we had before ran pretty strong. The fact that the wings are rubber banded on, it's nice for trainers and for when you're learning, because the wing will pop off a little bit easier, but I do like the more secureness of the screwed down wing. As far as a build goes, I'd say as easiness goes, it's probably a 10. For price, for what you get, I'd say it's a 10. I think overall, this plane just gets a 10 because it's just, it's cheap, it's fast to put together, and if you have a charged up battery at home, you can be out flying this the same day that you buy it very easily. So, like I said, about my only real big complaints about it are the fact of the Evolution motor, which, like I said, if you treat them right, they should be just fine. The fact that the wrapping on them's pretty shoddy, but like I said, 15 minutes with an iron, you can clean that right up. Other than that, man, go out and fly. These are a lot of fun.